January 1st, 2024. The world didn't just wake up to a new year, it woke up to a planet in a state of high alert. In the gray, freezing dawn of the Noto Peninsula, Japan, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake shatters the peace, sending a grim warning that the physical and political foundations of our world are shifting. In the Middle East, the horizon is glowing not with the sun, but with the fires of a conflict in Gaza that is rapidly pulling the entire region into a vortex of violence. Meanwhile, in the snowy trenches of Eastern Europe, the 1,000-day mark of the war in Ukraine approaches, turning the continent into a fortress once more. But the true earthquake isn't geological, it's democratic. 4 billion people, half the human race, are preparing to head to the polls. This is the super election year. From the streets of Taipei to the suburbs of Pennsylvania, the air is thick with the scent of change. This is the year the status quo died. This is the year that exposed our fragility. 2024, a shift in history starts. The global landscape of 2024 is a study in contradiction. We are more technologically advanced than ever, yet we feel more primitive in our tribalism. Economically, the world is grappling with the post-pandemic hangover. Inflation isn't just a number on a screen, it's the quiet desperation in grocery aisles from London to Lagos. The crisis of affordability has become a geopolitical weapon, fueling a populism that is hungry for outsiders. We are in the era of scarcity of resources, scarcity of peace, and most importantly, scarcity of truth. Technologically, 2024 is the year generative AI grows teeth. It is no longer just a toy for students. It is a trillion-dollar engine reshaping the labor market and the very nature of reality. The release of GPT-4o and the rise of sovereign AI have nations racing to build digital borders as fast as they can build physical ones. Every video we watch and every headline we read is now shadowed by the doubt of the deepfake. Culturally, the world is vibrating with a strange neon energy. It is the summer of Brat, a chaotic, lime-green defiance against the polished perfection of the past decade. While the digital world fractures into a million echo chambers, the physical world seeks refuge in the massive, collective rituals of the Taylor Swift Eras Tour, which has become a financial force of nature, literally moving the GDP of entire nations. We are a world holding its breath, caught between the terrifying speed of the future and the heavy, unresolved debts of the past. The stage is set for a year where every pillar of society will be tested. The spark that truly ignited 2024 wasn't a bomb or a breakthrough, but the rhythmic, thunderous thud of billions of ballots. This was the ballot box rebellion. It began in June with the Indian general election, the largest democratic exercise in the history of the human species. For weeks, nearly 1 billion voters moved through heat waves to cast their votes. When the results came in, the world gasped. The seemingly invincible majority of Narendra Modi was checked, signaling a global fatigue with the strongman archetype. This was the first domino in a worldwide anti-incumbent wave. In July, the United Kingdom saw 14 years of conservative rule erased in a single night as the Labour Party swept to a historic landslide. In Mexico, the election of Claudia Sheinbaum, the first woman and first person of Jewish descent to lead the nation, shattered the highest glass ceiling in Latin America. These weren't just routine transfers of power, they were triggers for a total systemic reboot. The trajectory of the year shifted from management to upheaval. These elections proved that the global public was no longer passive. They were angry, they were mobilized, and they were willing to gamble on the unknown. This momentum of political unpredictability created the perfect vacuum for the eventual, seismic return of Donald Trump in the United States. His victory in November didn't just change a presidency. It officially signaled the end of the liberal international order that had governed the globe since 1945. The inciting event of 2024 was the moment humanity looked at the status quo and decided to burn the manual. Politics in 2024 was played at the edge of the abyss. In Russia, Vladimir Putin secured a 5th term in a highly orchestrated election, but the victory was stained by the shadow of Alexei Navalny. The death of the opposition leader in an Arctic penal colony in February signaled the total crushing of internal dissent, turning Russia into a monolithic war state. However, the world's attention was soon diverted to a different kind of political theater in Washington. The The US presidential race, already a pressure cooker, exploded in July when an incumbent president did the unthinkable. Joe Biden withdrew from the race following a disastrous debate performance that shook the Democratic Party to its core. In a matter of days, the narrative shifted from a rematch of the elders to a sprint for the future as Kamala Harris took the torch. This political volatility was matched across the globe. In South Africa, the African National Congress, the party of Mandela, lost its absolute majority for the first time since the end of apartheid, forcing a government of national unity that changed the nation's political DNA overnight. In Europe, the European Parliament elections saw a massive surge for the far right, yet the centrist core held just enough ground to keep the machinery of the EU from grinding to a halt. This was a year of permanent crisis management. Leaders were no longer planning for the next decade, they were simply trying to survive the next news cycle. The political map of 2024 was a patchwork of fragile alliances and bold gambits, where the only constant was the total lack of certainty. The social fabric of 2024 was stretched to its breaking point by a generation that refused to stay quiet. In April, the campus uprisings began. From Columbia University to the Sorbonne, students set up encampments to protest the war in Gaza, sparking a global debate over free speech, Zionism, and the responsibility of academic institutions. These weren't just protests. They were cultural rifts that tore through families and political parties alike. In South Asia, the student-led revolution in Bangladesh showed the world the power of the digital street. What began as a protest against job quotas escalated into a mass movement that successfully ousted Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina after 15 years of increasingly autocratic rule. It was a masterclass in decentralized activism, coordinated through encrypted apps and social media. But 2024 wasn't just about the fight, it was about the spectacle. The Paris Olympics transformed the City of Light into a global theater of human potential. From the opening ceremony on the River Seine to the viral emergence of breaking as an Olympic sport, the Games were a high-definition dopamine hit for a world exhausted by conflict. Icons like Simone Biles and Snoop Dogg dominated the social media cycle, providing moments of shared joy that felt increasingly rare. Even in the world of pop culture, the social events were combative. The Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef became a global obsession, with Kendrick's Not Like Us becoming the anthem of the summer. A rare moment where a musical feud felt like a proxy for larger cultural conversations about authenticity and power. 2024 was a year where society was simultaneously more divided on political lines, yet more connected through the shared language of the meme and the live stream. As the year entered its final quarter, the limited conflicts of the early 2020s began to merge into a global conflagration. The escalation was physical, economic, and psychological. In the Middle East, the red line was crossed in October when Israel launched a ground offensive into southern Lebanon, turning Hezbollah's heartland into a new front. The sky over Beirut and Tel Aviv was filled with the streaks of ballistic missiles as Iran entered the fray directly, marking the closest the world has come to a regional Great War in decades. In the Red Sea, Houthi rebels effectively choked the main artery of global trade using cheap drones to haunt billion-dollar cargo ships. This asymmetric war drove up the cost of living for families thousands of miles away, proving that in 2024, no one is isolated from the chaos. Simultaneously, the climate debt was finally called in with a vengeance. In Spain, the apocalyptic floods of Valencia saw a year's worth of rainfall in 8 hours, turning city streets into riverbeds of mud and twisted metal. The stakes were raised further as the Russia-Ukraine war crossed the grim milestone of 1,000 days. The momentum shifted toward a globalized conflict when North Korean troops were reportedly deployed to the Kursk region, officially bringing the tensions of the Pacific to the borders of Europe. The escalation was the realization that the systems we relied on, international law, storm drains, shipping lanes, were built for a world that no longer exists. The pressure was building toward a breaking point, and by the end of 2024, the world felt like it was one mistake away from total collapse. Despite the pervasive sense of crisis, 2024 delivered wins that felt like blueprints for a better future. This was the year of scientific defiance. In the realm of medicine, the rollout of the R21 malaria vaccine across Africa began saving tens of thousands of children's lives, a quiet, massive victory against an ancient killer. We saw the first successful commercial soft landing on the moon by intuitive machines, proving that the second space race would be led by innovation and private ambition. AI, for all the fear it caused, also provided a high. Google DeepMind's AlphaFold 3 began predicting the structures of all of life's molecules, a breakthrough that promised to compress decades of drug discovery into months. In the energy sector, 2024 saw renewable energy installations outpace fossil fuels at a record rate, with China leading a green revolution that many hoped would finally bend the curve of carbon emissions. Socially, progress was made in the quiet halls of justice. Thailand and Liechtenstein joined the list of nations to legalize same-sex marriage, proving that even in a world leaning right, the march toward equality remained unstoppable. The Taylor Swift effect wasn't just about music. It was a masterclass in economic empowerment, injecting billions into local economies and proving the sheer power of the fandom economy. These breakthroughs took society forward because they demonstrated that when we applied our technology and our collective passion toward creation rather than destruction, the results were nothing short of miraculous. For a brief moment during the total solar eclipse in April, millions of people across North America looked up at the sky in shared silence, reminded that we are all passengers on the same small rock. People began to believe that despite the chaos, the tools for our survival were finally within our grasp. The lows of 2024 were defined by a harrowing human cost and a profound sense of institutional failure. While the West focused on elections, the silent catastrophe in Sudan became the world's largest displacement crisis. 14 million people were forced from their homes by a civil war characterized by ethnic cleansing and systemic starvation, a tragedy that exposed the world to selective empathy. In the Middle East, the normalized horror of the Gaza conflict reached a level where daily reports of child casualties became background noise to a world that had seen too much. The lethal heat during the Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia, where over 1,300 people died in 50°C temperatures, was a brutal reminder of the uninhabitable future we are rapidly creating. In the United States, the back-to-back hits of Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton wiped entire mountain towns and coastal cities off the map. The imagery of Asheville, North Carolina, hundreds of miles from the coast underwater, destroyed the myth of the climate refuge. These disasters were not just tragedies. They were long-term damage to the idea that our infrastructure can protect us. The low point was the realization that the rules of war and international law had become mere suggestions. From the rubble of Mariupol to the hospitals of Gaza, the concept of human rights felt like a relic of a more optimistic century. We moved in the wrong direction by proving that in the face of raw power or extreme weather, the collective will to protect the most vulnerable had withered. 2024 left a trail of scars that will take generations to heal, leaving us to wonder if we have lost the ability to save ourselves from ourselves. History will look back at 2024 as the year that certainty finally died. It was the historical turning point where the global population realized that the post-war era was officially over. It was a lesson in the fragility of democracy and the power of the individual voice, for better or for worse. This year mattered because it saw the definitive rise of the multipolar world, where the United States was no longer the undisputed architect of global policy. It marked the beginning of the agentic AI era, where we stopped asking if machines could think and started asking what we would do when they took the wheel. 2024 reshaped history by forcing a great decoupling. Nations began to prioritize security over trade and survival over luxury. It was the year we stopped transitioning to the future and started inhabiting a new, harsher reality. What ended was the illusion of a predictable world. What began was an era of radical adaptation. The impact of 2024 defines our lives today. The political right turn that began in those elections has become the dominant global ideology, leading to the hardened borders and protectionist trade blocs we now navigate. The AI breakthroughs of 2024 are no longer in labs. They are the digital custodians that manage our supply chains and curate our reality. The social media revolutions provided the blueprint for the decentralized protest movements we see today. We live in a world where extreme weather readiness is the primary budget item for every major city, a lesson bought with the blood lost in Valencia and North Carolina. The deep skepticism toward traditional media that solidified during that super election year is now the baseline of our social interaction. We are not just looking back at 2024. We are still feeling its vibrations in every swipe of our screens and every law in our books. "2024 was loud. It was violent. It was the year that pulled the mask off the 21st century. We entered it hoping for a return to calm, and we left it realizing that the storm is our new home. But as the echoes of the super year fade, 2025 is already rising with new questions. Join us on the journey through every year exposed. If this year surprised you, challenged what you thought you knew, or reminded you of something you lived through, leave a comment with what it meant to you. If this series helps you understand the present through the past, consider liking the video. And if you want every year exposed, subscribe to the channel. History isn't just something we watch, it's something we interpret, and something many of us lived through. Another year exposed is coming soon. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.